The alert came at 3 in the morning, station time. Yuna was half asleep at her monitoring desk when the screen flashed red. She sat up quickly and rubbed her eyes. Something was floating toward the station. She pressed the communication button. Dr. Park, we have something on the sensors. 5 minutes later, Dr. Park Jin-ho walked into the control room. He was a tall man in his 40s with tired eyes and steady hands. He had been studying alien life for 20 years, but he had never lost his curiosity. He looked at the screen and frowned. It came from that Velith transport ship, Yuna said. She pointed at the small dot, moving across the black space. They ejected it about an hour ago. The Velith were not friends of humanity. They were not enemies either. They were something harder to understand. Their bodies looked like giant insects with hard black shells and many legs. But the strangest thing about them was their minds. They shared thoughts. Every Velith was connected to every other Velith. They moved together, thought together, and made decisions together. To them, the individual did not matter. Only the whole mattered. Dr. Park watched the object drift closer. What did their transmission say? Yuna pulled up the message. The translation was cold and simple. Genetic aberration, non-viable, contamination purged. They threw it away, Dr. Park said quietly, like garbage. The engineer, Tai-ho, entered the room. He was a practical man who fixed things that broke and built things that were needed. He looked at the screen and crossed his arms. Are we really going to bring that thing inside? We do not know what it is. The sensors show life signs, Yuna said. Her voice was soft but firm. Weak ones. Whatever it is dying. Dr. Park made his decision quickly. Bring it in. Tai-ho sighed but nodded. He knew better than to argue when the doctor used that tone. 30 minutes later, they stood in the cargo bay. The metal container sat on the floor, covered in frost from the cold of space. Tai-ho cut it open carefully. The smell that came out was strange, but not unpleasant. It reminded Yuna of wet soil after rain. Inside the container, curled into a tight ball, was a creature no bigger than a house cat. It had a shell like other Velith, but everything else was wrong. Its shell was pale white instead of black. Its 6 legs were different sizes, some too long and some too short. And across its small body, strange patterns glowed with soft blue light. It was shaking. It is afraid, Yuna whispered. Dr. Park knelt down slowly. He did not touch the creature. He just looked at it with careful eyes. It is a hatchling. Very young. Probably only a few weeks old. And they threw it away because it looks different? Tai-ho asked. There was anger in his voice now. He had not expected to feel angry. The Velith believe in genetic perfection, Dr. Park explained. Every hatchling must be exactly right. If something is different, they see it as a threat to the whole species. They remove it. Remove it, Yuna repeated. The words tasted bitter. You mean kill it? Usually, yes. This one was lucky. They just threw it into space instead. The creature slowly uncurled. Its many eyes looked up at the 3 humans standing over it. Yuna expected it to attack or run away. Instead, it made a small sound. It was quiet and sad, like a baby crying for its mother. Yuna felt her heart break. We need to contact the Velith, Tai-ho said. Tell them we found their mistake. Maybe they want it back. We do not want it back, Dr. Park said. To them, it does not exist anymore. It never existed. Then what do we do with it? Dr. Park stood up. His eyes were serious. We keep it alive. Tai-ho stared at him. Doctor, the protocols say we should not keep unknown alien life forms. The risk is too high. What if it carries disease? What if it grows up and becomes dangerous? Then we study it carefully and take precautions. Dr. Park looked down at the shaking creature. But I will not throw it back into space. I will not be like them. Yuna knelt beside the hatchling. Slowly, carefully, she reached out her hand. The creature flinched at first. Then, very slowly, it moved closer. It pressed its cold shell against her warm fingers. It is not dangerous, Yuna said. It is just scared and alone. The creature made that small sound again. This time, It sounded less sad. Almost hopeful. Over the next few days, the crew worked hard to keep the hatchling alive. They did not know what it ate, so they tried many things. They did not know what temperature it needed, so they watched it carefully and adjusted. Dr. Park took samples and ran tests. Taiho built a special container where the creature could rest safely. Yuna spent the most time with it. She talked to it, even though it could not understand. She told it about Earth, about the green forests and blue oceans. She told it about her family back home. She told it that everything would be okay. The creature listened. Its glowing patterns would pulse softly when she spoke, like it was trying to respond. 1 week after they found it, a message came from the Velith government. Yuna read it out loud to the others. Human Station. We have learned you possess contaminated biological material. This material must be destroyed immediately. Failure to comply will be seen as an act of genetic terrorism. You have been warned. The room was silent. Genetic terrorism, Taiho said slowly. They think keeping a baby alive is terrorism. Dr. Park took a deep breath. Send them our response. Tell them we are conducting scientific research on a specimen that was abandoned in open space. According to galactic salvage laws, it belongs to us now.
Ow.
They will not like that, Yuna said. No, they will not. Taiho looked at the container where the hatchling was sleeping peacefully. Its pale shell rose and fell with each breath. Its blue patterns glowed softly in the dim light. So we are really doing this, Taiho said. We are really going to fight the Velith over one small creature. Dr. Park nodded. Yes, because if we do not, then we are no better than them. We become people who throw away life just because it is different. Yuna smiled for the first time in days. She walked over to the container and pressed her hand against the glass. The hatchling inside woke up. It looked at her with its many eyes and made a soft, happy sound. We need to give it a name, Yuna said. We cannot keep calling it the creature or the specimen, she thought for a moment. Then she smiled. Bugel, she said. It means star in Korean. Because we found it floating in space, shining with its own light. The hatchling pulsed blue, as if it approved, and so Bugel began its new life, far from the cold cruelty of its own kind. In the warm hands of humanity, 2 months passed on the station. Outside, the stars moved slowly across the black sky. Inside, everything had changed. Buell was growing. The hatchling was now the size of a medium dog. Its pale shell had become stronger, and its mismatched legs had grown more steady. The blue patterns on its body glowed brighter than before, pulsing with light whenever it moved or reacted to something. But the biggest change was not physical. It was something else entirely. Dr. Han Minji arrived on a supply ship 3 weeks after they found Bugel. She was a geneticist, a scientist who studied the building blocks of life itself. She was young for her position, only in her 30s, but her mind was sharp as a knife. When she first saw Buell, she did not react with wonder or fear. She simply raised one eyebrow and said, "Interesting." Minji spent long hours taking samples from Bugel, skin cells, shell fragments, fluid from its body. She fed all of this into her machines and waited for answers. Meanwhile, Yuna continued to care for Bugel. Every morning she brought it food. Every evening, she sat beside its container and talked to it. And slowly, something strange began to happen. Bugel started to recognize her. At first, Yuna thought she was imagining it. But then she tested her idea. She would enter the room from different doors at different times, wearing different clothes. It did not matter. The moment Bugel saw her, its patterns would flash bright blue, and it would move toward her with quick, excited steps. It knows who I am, Yuna told Dr. Park one day. It remembers me. Dr. Park nodded slowly. Velith are supposed to be hive-minded. They do not recognize individuals. They only know the collective, but Bugel is different. Yes, Bugel is very different. Seung, the communications officer, became interested in the patterns on Boulet's body. He was a young man who spent most of his time translating alien messages and signals. To him, patterns were a kind of language. He started recording Boulet's light displays and looking for meaning, Look at this, Xiang said one day, showing Yuna his screen. When you enter the room, Buell always makes this pattern. He pointed to a series of blue pulses. And when Tai-Ho enters, the pattern is different. It has a pattern for each of us. Like names, Yuna said quietly. Exactly like names. It is giving us names. The news spread through the small crew. Everyone started watching Bujel more carefully. They noticed other things too. When people spoke in happy voices, Boulet's patterns would pulse warmly. When there was an argument or someone raised their voice in anger, Bujel would dim its lights and hide in the corner of its container. It was reading there. Emotions. Dr. Minji finally called a meeting. She stood at the front of the room with her results displayed on the screen behind her. I have spent 6 weeks studying this creature, she began. Her voice was calm but excited, and I can tell you that what we have here is extraordinary. She pointed to the screen. This is normal Velith genetic code. Clean, perfect, every gene in exactly the right place. She changed the image. And this is Buell's genetic code. It looks like chaos at first. Genes in wrong positions. Extra proteins. Missing sequences. So it really is defective, Tai-Ho said. No. Minji shook her head firmly. That is what the Velith believe. But they are wrong. Buell's mutation is not random damage. It is something much more interesting. She changed the image again. This time, it showed 2 genetic codes side by side. I found ancient Velith genetic records in our databases. Records from thousands of years ago, before the Velith became hive-minded. And look at this. Everyone leaned forward. Buell's genetic code matches these ancient patterns. The mutation has reactivated old genes. Genes that the Velith lost long ago. What kind of genes? Dr. Park asked. Genes for individual thought. For personal memory. For emotional response? Minji paused. The Velith were not always a hive mind. Long ago, they were individuals. They had their own thoughts and feelings. Then they evolved into the collective we know today. But the old genes are still there, sleeping in their bodies. And Buell woke them up, Yuna said. Yes, Buell is not a defective Velith. Buell is a return to what the Velith used to be. The room was silent as everyone understood what this meant. The Velith throw away these mutations because they threaten the hive mind, Dr. Park said slowly. If Velith could think for themselves again, the queens would lose control. Exactly, Minji said. Buell is not broken. Bial is evolution trying to happen. And the Velith have been stopping it for thousands of years. Before anyone could respond, Xiang's computer made a warning sound. He checked the screen, and his face went pale. We have a transmission coming in from the Velith government, he said. It is a formal demand. He put the message on the main screen. The translation appeared in cold, simple words. Humans of research, station Horizon's edge. You continue to harbor contaminated biological material. This is a violation of genetic security protocols. You will return or destroy the specimen within 30 standard days. Failure to comply will result in direct action. This is your final warning. Tai-Ho stood up angrily. Direct action? They are threatening us over a child. To them, Bujel is not a child, Dr. Park said quietly. To them, Buell is a disease. So what do we do? Xiang asked. We cannot fight a Velith fleet. We are just a research station. Dr. Park looked around the room. His crew looked back at him. Nobody spoke, but he could see the answer in their eyes. We vote, he said. Everyone gets a voice. Do we give up Buell, or do we refuse? One by one, they voted Yuna, Tai-Ho, Mingi, Xiang, and finally, Dr. Park himself. The vote was unanimous. 5-0. Then it is decided, Dr. Park said. We refuse. Bujel stays with us. That night, Yuna sat beside Bujel's container as she always did. The hatchling had grown too big for the container now, so Tai-Ho had built it a small room instead. Buell lay on the warm floor, its patterns glowing softly in the darkness. We are going to protect you, Yuna whispered, no matter what happens. Biel moved closer to her. It pressed its body against her side, the way a cat might curl up with its owner. Its patterns pulsed in a slow, steady rhythm. Seong had translated that pattern just yesterday. It meant one thing. Safe. B-Y-U-L. Felt safe with them. Yuna felt tears in her eyes. She put her hand on Buell's warm shell and smiled in the darkness. "You are family now," she said, "and family protects each other." Outside the station, the stars continued their slow dance. And somewhere far away, a Velith warship began its journey toward them. The military ship arrived on a cold morning. Yuna watched it dock with the station, her heart heavy with worry. She had heard stories about military officers. They followed orders. They did not care about feelings or right and wrong. They cared only about rules and safety. Captain Doyon stepped off the ship with 2 soldiers behind him. He was an older man, perhaps 50 years old, with gray hair cut short and eyes that seemed to look through everything. He shook hands with Dr. Park, but his face showed no warmth. "I am here to assess the situation," Doyon said. His voice was flat and professional. "Earth's command wants a report on this alien creature you are keeping, Buell," Yuna said. "The creature has a name." Doyon looked at her for a long moment. "I was told you gave it a name." "I was also told you treat it like a pet. It's like family," Yuna corrected him. The captain's expression did not change. "Show me." They walked through the station to Boulet's room. Taiho had done good work. The room was warm and comfortable with soft lights and a large window that looked out at the stars. Bial was resting in the corner, its pale shell rising and falling with each breath. When the door opened, Bial lifted its head. Its many eyes looked at the group of people. When it saw Yuna, its patterns flashed bright blue. When it saw Captain Dojan and the soldiers, the light dimmed and Bujal moved backward. "It recognizes threats," Dojan observed. "It recognizes strangers," Dr. Park said. "It is cautious. That is different from seeing threats." Hannah, the medical officer, entered the room behind them. She was a kind woman who had joined the station just a month ago. Her job was to keep everyone healthy, including Buell. She had spent many hours learning how Buell's body worked. Captain Hannah said, "I have been monitoring Buell's health. The creature shows remarkable intelligence. It understands cause and effect. It solves problems. Just yesterday, it figured out how to open a locked container to reach food inside." "Many animals can solve simple problems," Doyen said. This was not a simple problem. The container had a 3-step lock. Buell watched me open it once and then repeated the process perfectly. The captain was quiet for a moment. He watched Buell, who was still pressed against the far wall, its lights dim and cautious. "The Velith say this creature is dangerous," Doyen said. "They say its mutation could spread and destroy their entire species." "That is a lie," Dr. Mingi said firmly. She had been waiting in the room with her research ready. "The mutation is not a disease. It cannot spread from one Velith to another. It happens naturally in every generation. The Velith have been killing these mutations for thousands of years. Then why do they fear it so much?" Minji pulled up her research on a screen. "Because these mutations represent freedom, individual thought, personal choice. The Velith queens control their entire species through the hive mind. If Velith could think for themselves, the queens would lose power." Captain Doyon studied the screen for a long time. His face remained unreadable. "This is politics," he finally said. "Internal Velith politics. Why should humanity involve itself?" "Because they threw a child into space to die," Yuna said. Her voice shook with emotion. "Because they will do it again and again, forever, unless someone stops them." Before Doyan could respond, an alarm rang through the station. Red lights flashed. Xiang's voice came through the speakers. "We have a problem. Electrical fire in Section C. Repeat. Electrical fire in Section C." Everyone moved quickly. Section C was near the engine room. A fire there could destroy the entire station. Taiho ran toward the flames. Hannah grabbed her medical kit. Even Captain Doyan moved to help. In the confusion, nobody noticed that Bujal had left its room. The fire was small but dangerous. Sparks flew from a broken panel in the wall. Taiho worked to shut down the power while others... Prepared fire control equipment? Yuna ran down the corridor toward Section C. She turned a corner and stopped. Suddenly, Bujel was there. The creature stood in front of the sparking panel, its body between the fire and the corridor beyond. Its patterns were flashing rapidly, cycling through colors Yuna had never seen before. And in the corridor behind Bujel, lying on the floor, was Siong. He fell, Yuna realized. Siong must have collapsed from the smoke while trying to escape, and Bujel had found him. Without thinking, Yuna ran forward. Bujel moved aside to let her pass, but it stayed close, its body still positioned between them and the sparking panel. Together, Yuna pulled Siong to safety while Bujel guarded them from behind. When they reached clean air, Hannah was waiting with medical supplies. She checked Siong quickly. "He will be fine," Hannah said. "Smoke inhalation. A few hours of rest, and he will recover." Yuna looked at Bujel. The creature was pressed against her side, its patterns pulsing with worry. It kept looking at Siong, then at Yuna, then back at Sion. Captain Doyen walked over slowly. He had seen everything. "The creature put itself between the fire and your crew member," he said. His voice was different now. Less cold. It could have been hurt. "It chose to protect him anyway." Yuna nodded. "Buell protects the people it cares about." Doyan knelt down to look at Bujel directly. The creature flinched at first, but then held still. Its patterns shifted to a cautious yellow. "I have served in the military for 30 years, Doyen said quietly. "I have seen many things, but I have never seen an alien risk its own safety for a human." He stood up and turned to Dr. Park. "My report to Earth Command will be favorable. This creature shows loyalty, intelligence, and courage. It is not a threat. It is something much more valuable." Relief washed over everyone. But the moment was short. Siam's computer beeped. He was awake now, sitting up with Hannah's help. He looked at the screen, and his face went white. "Captain," he said, "a Velith warship just entered our system. They will be here in 6 hours." The room went silent. "They're coming for Bujel," Yuna said. Captain Doyun straightened his uniform. His eyes were hard now, but with a different kind of hardness. The hardness of determination. "Then we will be ready," he said. "I did not come here with just a report ship. I brought weapons. I brought soldiers. And I brought the authority to defend human interests." He looked at Buell, who was still pressed against Yuna's side. "This creature is now under human protection. Anyone who wants to take it will have to go through us first." Buell's patterns pulsed. Siong, despite his weakness, managed to smile. "I know that pattern," he said. "Buell is saying thank you." For the first time since arriving, Captain Doyan smiled too. It was a small smile, but it was real. "You are welcome," he said to Buell. "Welcome to the family." The Velith warship was massive. It hung in space like a black mountain, blocking out the stars behind it. From the observation deck, Yuna could see the ship growing larger every hour as it moved closer to the station. Captain Doyen had called for reinforcements. But the nearest human fleet was 2 days away. They were alone. "They are hailing us," Siong said. He had recovered from the smoke, but still looked tired. "They want to speak with whoever is in charge." Dr. Park nodded. "Put them on screen." The image that appeared was strange and terrible. A Velith queen filled the display. She was much larger than a normal Velith, with a massive shell covered in gold markings that showed her rank. Her many eyes reflected no light. They were completely black, like holes in space. "Humans," the queen said. Her voice came through the translator, as cold and flat. "You possess stolen genetic material. Return it now." "We possess a living being that was abandoned in space," Dr. Park replied calmly. "Under galactic salvage law, it belongs to us. It belongs to no one. It is contamination. It must be destroyed. We disagree." The queen was silent for a moment. When she spoke again, her voice was even colder. "You have 48 hours. Return the contamination, or we will destroy your station with all lives aboard. This is not a negotiation. This is fact." The screen went dark. Everyone in the room looked at each other. 48 hours! That was not enough time for reinforcements to arrive. We need to do something, Yuna said. We cannot just wait here to die. Dr. Minji stepped forward. Her eyes were bright with an idea. We have something better than weapons. We have truth. What do you mean? Captain Doyan asked. The Velith have kept their genetic secrets hidden for thousands of years. The other species in the galaxy do not know that they kill their own children. They do not know about the mutations that could set their people free. Minji's voice grew stronger. But we know, and we have proof. Dr. Park understood immediately. We broadcast everything. The research. The genetic evidence. The truth about what the Velith Queens have been doing. They will not be able to stop the signal in time, Xiang said, his fingers already moving across his keyboard. I can send it to every human colony, every allied species, every news network in the galaxy. Do it, Captain Doyan ordered. For the next several hours, everyone worked without rest. Minji organized all her research into a clear presentation. Xiang prepared the communication systems for a massive broadcast. Taiho reinforced the station's shields just in case. Hannah gathered medical supplies for any emergency, and Yuna stayed with Biole. The creature had grown more during the past months. It was now almost as tall as Yuna when it stood on its back legs. Its pale shell had developed beautiful patterns of silver and blue. And most importantly, Minji had finished building a translation device that could turn Buell's light patterns into words. It was simple technology. But it changed everything. Buyol, Yuna said gently. We are going to tell everyone about you. About what the Velith did. About what you really are. Buell's patterns shifted. The translator spoke in a soft artificial voice. Others will know? Yes, the whole galaxy will know. Buell was quiet for a moment. Then new patterns formed. Why? Did they hate me? The question broke Yuna's heart. She knelt down so she was at eye level with Bujel. They were afraid. You are different from them. You can think for yourself. You can feel things that they cannot feel. And they were scared of what that meant.
Different.
Is bad? No? Yuna shook her head firmly. Different is not bad. Different is just different. We humans have learned this lesson many times. We have hurt each other for being different. But we also learned to be better. We learned that different can be wonderful. Ghoul's pattern shifted to a warm gold color. You are different. Not like Velith. Yes. Humans are different. You did not throw me away. No, we never will. Moved closer and pressed its head against Yuna's shoulder. The translator spoke again. I choose to stay. With family, Yuna hugged Buell tight. And we choose you. The broadcast went out exactly 24 hours before the VLF deadline. Xiang sent it to every corner of the galaxy simultaneously. Within minutes, responses started coming back. The first were from human colonies. Messages of support and outrage flooded in. People were angry. They were sad. They wanted to help. Then other species responded. The Korath, a peaceful trading civilization, demanded an explanation from the Velith. The Mandari, known for their strict sense of justice, called for an emergency council meeting. Even the mysterious elders, ancient beings who rarely involve themselves in galactic affairs, sent a single message. We are watching. The Velith Queen sent a furious transmission. You will regret this, humans. You have declared war on genetic purity. But before Dr. Park could respond, another transmission came through. This one was from inside the Velith ship itself. It was a lower-ranked Velith. Not a queen, just a worker. And it was speaking with fear in its voice. Is it true? The Velith asked. The mutations. They are not disease. They are. Evolution? Dr. Park leaned forward. Yes, it is true. We have genetic proof. The mutations are a return to what your species once was. Individual, free. The transmission was silent for a long moment. Then, quietly, there have been others. Other hatchlings like the one you protect, we followed orders. We destroyed them. But some of us wondered. Some of us questioned. You can think for yourself, Dr. Park said gently. even without the mutation. You can choose. Choose, the Velith repeated. The word seemed strange in its mouth, like it had never said it before. The transmission ended suddenly, cut off by someone higher in command. But the damage was done. A crack had formed in the Velith unity. A small crack, but cracks can grow. The deadline came and passed. The Velith warship did not fire. It simply hung in space, silent and still. Then finally a new transmission came from the Queen. Her voice was different now. Still cold, but with something underneath. Something that might have been fear. This is not over, humans. We will return. And we will cleanse this contamination from the galaxy, no matter how long it takes. The warship turned and flew away into the darkness. Cheers erupted across the station. They had survived. They had one. But Una did not cheer. She stood at the window with Buell beside her, watching the Velith ship disappear among the stars. They will come back, she said quietly. Buell's translator spoke. Yes. But now, others know. Truth cannot be hidden again. Una smiled sadly. You are right. The truth is out there now. And the Velith will never be able to bury it again. Buell looked up at the stars. Its patterns shifted through many colors before settling on a determined blue. More like me, Buell said. Others, hiding, afraid, we must find them. Una put her hand on Buell's shell. We will, I promise. We will find them all. Outside, the stars continued to shine. And somewhere in the galaxy, other mutations waited in the darkness, hoping that someone would come for them. Someone finally would. 1 year had passed since the Velith warship turned away. The galaxy had changed in ways nobody could have predicted. The new colony was called Sejul, which meant new path in Korean. It floated in orbit around a warm orange star far from Velith space. The station was larger than Horizon's Edge. With wide corridors and open spaces filled with soft light, Una walked through the main hall. Smiling at the creatures she passed. There were 12 of them now. 12 mutations rescued from different corners of the galaxy. Some had been found hiding on abandoned ships. Others had been smuggled out of Velith territory by workers who had begun to question their queens. A few had simply appeared at human outposts, drawn by the story of Bejewel and the humans who had refused to let it die. Each one was different. Some had shells of deep purple or bright green. Others had extra limbs or unusual patterns. But they all shared the same gift, the ability to think for themselves, to feel, to choose, and they all called Sejul home. Dr. Park Jin-ho stood at the observation window, watching a supply ship approach the station. His hair had more gray in it now, but his eyes were still bright with curiosity. Another delivery, Taiho said, walking up beside him. The engineer had stayed with the project from the beginning. He could not imagine being anywhere else. Food and medical supplies, Dr. Park said, and something else. Minji said she has a surprise for us. Dr. Han Minji arrived on the supply ship an hour later. She had been traveling the galaxy, sharing her research with scientists of every species. Her work had started a revolution in genetic science. Now she was back, and she was not alone. Walking beside her was a young Velith. Its shell was black like a normal Velith, with no visible mutations. But its eyes were different somehow. More focused, more aware. Everyone, Minji announced. This is Yari. Yari is not a mutation. Yari is something else entirely. The room went quiet. What do you mean? Una asked. Minji smiled. The mutations we have been finding are genetic throwbacks. Their bodies change to allow individual thought. But Yari is proof of something even more important. She paused for effect. Any Velith can choose to think for themselves. The hive mind is not a prison. It is a habit. A choice that the species made long ago and forgot they were making. Yari stepped forward. When it spoke, its voice came through a translator like Buell's, but the words were clearer, more practiced. I was born normal, Yari said. I was part of the hive mind for 7 years. I did what the queens commanded. I never questioned, Then I heard the broadcast about Bujel. I heard that my people were killing children for being different. And something inside me broke. Broke? Song asked. The connection to the hive. It did not disappear completely. I can still feel it, like a whisper in the back of my mind. But I do not listen anymore. I choose my own thoughts now. Captain Do-yeon, who had stayed with the project as its military protector, stepped forward. Are there others like you? Velith who have chosen to break free? Jari nodded. Many. The broadcast changed everything. The queens try to suppress the information, but it spreads anyway. Workers whisper to each other. Questions are asked. Some are punished, but the questions do not stop. Bujel entered the room. It was fully grown now, taller than any human, with a shell that shone silver in the light. The years had changed Bujel in many ways, but one thing remained the same. When it saw Yuna, its patterns still flashed that bright. Happy blue. Biol walked to Yari and stopped in front of the younger Velith. For a long moment, neither moved. Then Bujel lowered its head in a gesture of welcome, Brother Bujel said through its translator. Sister, family. Welcome.
Oh.
Jerry's shell trembled. It was crying, Yuna realized. Velith could cry. She had not known that before. I thought I was broken, Yari said quietly. I thought something was wrong with me because I could not stop thinking, could not stop feeling. But I was not broken. I was waking up. Biel pressed its head against Jerry's. It's not broken. Never broken. Just different. And different is not bad. Yuna felt tears in her own eyes as she watched them. Two creatures from a species that prized sameness above everything else. Finding comfort in each other because they dared to be themselves. That evening, there was a celebration in the main hall. All 12 mutations gathered together with the human crew. Captain Do-yeon gave a speech about courage. Dr. Park talked about the future. Mingi shared new discoveries that promised even more hope. Then Bujel stood before the crowd. It had never done this before. Public speaking was not easy for a creature that had spent its first weeks of life shaking with fear in a cold metal box. But tonight was different. Humans, Bujel began. Its patterns pulsed slowly, thoughtfully. When my own kind threw me into the darkness, you reached out your hands. When they called me contamination, you gave me a name. When they wanted me dead, you chose to protect me. The room was completely silent. I have learned many things in my time with you. I have learned that different is not wrong. I have learned that kindness is stronger than fear. I have learned that family is not who you are born with, but who chooses to stand beside you. Biel looked around at the other mutations, at Yari, at the humans who had become its family. They called us broken, Biel said. You called us possible. That is why we will always stand with humanity. Not because you saved us, but because you saw us. You saw who we could become, even when our own kind could not. The other mutations began to glow. Their patterns pulsed in rhythm with Buell's words, creating a symphony of light that filled the room.
Emily,
they said together. Home, chosen. Yuna stepped forward and took Boulet's hand. Taiho stood beside her. Dr. Park, Mingi, Suong, Hannah, Captain Do-yeon. All of them together. The universe is big and cold, Yuna said. There are species out there that care only about perfection, only about control. They look at anything different and see a threat. She squeezed Buell's hand. But humans see something else. We see potential. We see hope. We see children who deserve a chance to grow and learn and become who they are meant to be. Dr. Park raised his glass. To Siegel. To the first of many. To every mutation still hiding in the darkness, waiting to be found. To family, Bujel added. Everyone raised their glasses. To family. Outside the station, the orange star burned warm and steady. Ships came and went, carrying supplies and hope and sometimes new refugees seeking safety. The galaxy was still dangerous. The Velith Queen still plotted and planned. There would be more battles, more challenges, more dark moments. But there would also be more light, because humanity had taught the galaxy something important. Every life has value. Every difference has potential. Every rejected soul deserves a chance. And Buell, the small creature that was once thrown into the cold darkness to die, had become a symbol of that truth. A star that refused to stop shining, the first of many, but not the last, never the last.